Season 29 of Dancing with the Stars is heating up with episode 8 premiering last night. We're here to react to last night's best and worst performances. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We are so excited to continue discussing this season of Dancing with the Stars with you. But before we get into it, please remember to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos from us. We are covering Dancing with the Stars like crazy this season, so come on back to make sure you don't miss a video. Today I am joined by the legendary Fiona Zaring.
Hello. How are ya?
I'm good. It's good to see you again. Fiona,
Yes.
Did you catch last night's episode of Dancing with the Stars?
Did I catch last night's episode? Of course. With everything going on in the world, I was counting down to last night's episode
Yes.
of Dancing with the Stars.
You
so
could not
good.
have said it better myself. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy how far we with this show. And just every single week, I'm so excited because just when I think the show is predictable, it gets unpredictable again. So I'm so excited to discuss last night with you. Of course, the competition is really moving along. I mean, we don't have that many pairs left after this week. And this week, of course, was supposed to be a double elimination, but Jeannie Mai is in the hospital after getting surgery. So she was diagnosed with epiglottitis and will no longer be competing, which is, of course, so sad. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, about how they approached that and how emotional it got Jeannie. But anyway, we will always, as always, be talking best 3 and worst 3 performances of this week based on both the judges' scores and our opinions, which do often line up, but not always. And we will, of course, always have our honorable mention category for someone who scored somewhere in the middle this week, but showed major improvement. So I say we get into it, Fiona.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start with the low scorers. With a score of 21 this week is Nelly. This is the lowest score given this week. The rapper talked about his older sister this week. In 2001, his sister Jackie was diagnosed with leukemia, and the two of them started a bone marrow transplant foundation in hopes of finding her a donor. And he talked about her emotional passing in 2005. I got all teary-eyed. I was watching really late last night and just being like, I just didn't see this coming. It's just this new vulnerable side of Nelly. And it was his birthday this week, so woo. He danced the Rumba alongside his partner Daniella to Nobody Knows by the Tony Rich Project, which is one of his sister's favorite songs. I say we check out a little bit of it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, Daniella, look at her. She's just like throwing herself.
Yeah, she's crazy. Oh
she
my
is
God,
so I want to know, Fiona, I want first thoughts about this performance from you.
You know, I have to say, I feel like this one was a bummer for me because there was a lot of like emotion behind it. I feel like it would have been so wonderful for him to have gotten like his highest score ever. And we've seen him had like some success in these past few weeks, sort of breaking through that like score zone that he had steadily been in. But I thought it was fine. He was a little stiff. Daniella like shined. She looked incredible, and he kind of looked like the star. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of back to that. Like he was Nelly trying to do ballroom dancing as opposed to like he made a breakthrough. What did you think?
Yeah. I mean, you said it perfectly. I mean, Daniella is such a good partner in that she knows exactly what Nelly can do and then designs a dance that will show her off way more to make it look like it's a partner dance, when I think this one, we saw a little bit behind the curtain too much. I mean, she was really like, he was standing there for a lot of the dance and she was spinning, twirling, like it just, all he had to do was really stand, and then she just sort of made it look impressive. But so yeah, I mean, I do think this low score was deserved, but like the judges were saying, oh, we love this story that you're telling this week, and we just have to be like nitpicky in the competition. We have to judge you, but I think this was beautiful, and I completely agree. I think it doesn't take away from the really vulnerable, heartfelt story that he was telling prior to the dance and how he dedicated the dance to his sister. But I mean, from a technical standpoint, I do believe you can view them separately.
Totally, 100%. I think it would have been amazing had it been the best night, but it was the best night emotionally, and as the judges said, perhaps a little wonky technically. Next up, we have AJ McLean scoring a bit higher with a 24 out of 30. He also opened up this week. He talked about his battle with addiction. It was super powerful, really meaningful. The Backstreet Boys star ended up dancing the Rumba alongside his pro Cheryl to Way Down We Go by Kaleo. Let's check out the dance.
Let's do it. Oh, the throwing in this dance, I forgot. Like that move. Like my neck hurts watching that.
Yeah, so Tyler, I thought that they had a great start. There was some amazing partner work. There were some messy moments, like in that last spin move. But what did you think overall? He's been on another hot streak, and I don't know. I don't know if this score was exactly what I would have given it. What did you think?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen AJ do better. For sure. And so, it didn't help that, I mean, you mentioned that last spin move. It was pretty good, the whole dance, and I was like very much into it. But it was just that, it's tough when you don't stick the landing, and I think that's so fresh in the judges' brains. But I do think, I mean, considering the highest score given this evening was a 27, and he got a 24, like, though he is technically the bottom, I mean, it's at that point in the competition where they're really nitpicking. So ultimately, I think a 24 or a 25 would probably be deserved for this performance, just because I've seen him do better. But I just was obsessed. I mean, I think we're getting such emotional and vulnerable sides of all these contestants now, which ultimately I didn't see coming. And I didn't know that AJ had struggled with addiction. And I didn't know his partner had also struggled with addiction. Both of them are sober, and they were able to sort of bond with that. I'm like, God, this show is so much more than just dancing and getting judged on it. Like, I'm really getting to know these stars and these professional dancers in such an intimate level, which is not at all what I expected going into this. So, but I don't know. Going back to the dancing, I think a 24 was probably deserved, if not like a little bit on the lower side, but he's safe this week. So hopefully he'll just come back and nail it next week.
I mean, listen, you said there's something to be said about, like, they're coming on the show to dance, and that's wonderful. But I love the fact that, like, people are taking this platform and saying, like, okay, while I'm here, I'm going to share something that if it can touch a few people or help a few people or, you know, help a few people connect, that's the best part of the show. So regardless, he wins this week just for being so open and vulnerable and candid. But I do hope we see more from him. Like, this was kind of like an in the middle one for me. He can do better next week. Next week. This is just to carry us over.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly said, Fiona, as always. Now, we also have another contestant with a score of 24, and that is Chrishell Stausse, who was our honorable mention last week. Though it wasn't me with you, it was you and Avery. Of course, I watched it, and I agree with the honorable mention last week. We saw a little bit of her life this week. We saw a little bit of her life this week as a real estate agent at the Overtime group, which I loved. I was like shaking. I was freaking out because as anyone who watches Shared News knows, Fiona and I absolutely love Selling Sunset. So she even had a video call with Jason and Mary like during the show, which I was nerding out about. So it was a little treat for the Selling Sunset fans. The Selling Sunset star danced the Viennese waltz with her partner Gleb to Love on the Brain by Rihanna. I say we take a little look.
Yes.
Baby, you got me like
oh, yeah. It's a good refresher.
Look at her.
The drama. Fiona, I want first thoughts. Give me those first thoughts.
She looked gorgeous. I mean, I thought it was a very Chrishell performance. It was not like, oh my God, she's such an amazing dancer, but she looked stunning. She had some really strong moments. It was very sensual. I mean,
it was
into it, but I'm so biased. It's so hard for me. I'm so biased to Chrishell. Like, I love her. Anytime she does anything, I am like her biggest fan, but it definitely wasn't like it wasn't Kaitlyn Bristowe level. I don't know. You
Of
know,
course.
she's hard for me. What did you think? I was impressed, but I wasn't floored.
I'm Fiona. I'm still laughing at that. It was a very Chrishell performance because it is a very Chrishell performance. She's so consistent, which I think. Again, we're both very biased. I'm like, I think that is an admirable quality in this competition, being super consistent. Like, if you look at someone like Sky Jackson, I mean, she's been so up and down. Chrishell's been sort of, which is nice. That's not going to get her to win this show, but I thought, yeah, you mentioned the sensuality of the performance. She really leaned into her strengths, which I think she's now, and her strengths are like adding the drama. She does have soap opera experience. This was like a very dramatic sort of performance, and the judges agreed. So yeah, I mean, I think the theatricality of it, great. Of course, that's not what they're judging her on. But I mean, they got her on, the judges had really good feedback for Chrishell, and I totally agree. It was like her transitions weren't smooth. It was pretty choppy from one thing to the next, but it was ultimately very enjoyable. What just sucks at this point in the competition is that that's not gonna save you. So
no,
yeah.
it's hard. It's so hard. I mean, at this stage of the game, like just doing what she can do, which has been fine and fun for her fans, but not like she's not going to suddenly develop skills that she just doesn't have. And even I think she's been improving and improving and improving, but it is tough. It's been so intense from day one. And, you know, obviously tonight was no exception. I do want to get to our honorable mention because Chrishell was in this spot last week, and it's just like, oh my God, everything is so crazy in this competition. So this week, we're giving our honorable mention, which of course is a performer who got a score, you know, somewhere in the middle last week, but showed major improvement this week. And this might be confusing at first, but our honorable mention is Kaitlyn Bristowe. She has consistently been at the top of the top this season. So how did she end up here? Well, if you remember last week, she had a really rough night. She was second to last, which was honestly wild. She needed a serious bounce back this week. She ended up with a comfortable 25 out of 30, which, as we talked about, the scores kind of trended lower. So not bad, not bad. She danced the jive with her pro partner Artem to Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. Let's check it out. Let's take a look.
Yeah. I love a jive.
Look at that smile.
She is a star.
She is. Oh my God. So Tyler, I want your initial thoughts because look at that smile. Look at how much fun they were having. I mean, this was really great, I thought.
Yeah. I think they were way too hard on her, and you can see it on her face when she's getting the like when Carrie Ann is sort of like giving her feedback. She's like through a smile, like she's like, oh, okay, I have to respect what the judges are saying. It's just because she's been floating so far on the top. I understand why the judges would feel compelled to be a little bit harder on her because I don't know, like because she could actually improve because she's so skilled. Or it could be like a producer thing where it's like, be harder on her because we can't, because what if she wins this thing and she just floated at the top the entire season? That's kind of boring. There's no like comeback story. So I get that it could maybe be fabricated and a little bit more intentional than we may think. But I thought this was a star performance. They mentioned maybe a few slip-ups. It's hard with the camera work to actually catch all of them. I'm sometimes like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But considering how much they packed into that dance, and the jive, it was such a difficult. It looked like a true like a musical, like a Grease movie performance where they drilled this choreo for months. So I don't know. It's just a little bit frustrating. So I'm glad she's our honorable mention because we have to honor her because she did have a rough week last week. But I don't know. What do you think, Fiona?
You know, I think you really said it best. To me, what stood out was how much choreography there was. Like when you compare this performance to, let's go back to our guy Nelly, who basically, as we said, had to succeed at standing still. I mean, come on, they're like not even in the same competition, right? So it's kind of crazy to me that there was that much choreo. I get that there may have been some technical things. I was a dancer. I won't pretend like I've ever been a ballroom expert. Like this is I'm not the end all be all on jives, but from where I was sitting, I was like, there was enough of that was technically correct, right? I mean, it looked great. Who was the pro? It was one of those performances where I was like, wow, they killed it. So did I think this was going to be her, 10 out of 10, like her perfect score? Maybe not. But I agree with you. I feel like they could have given her a bit of a boost, especially after last week. They could have could have been like the welcome back. They didn't really give it that kind of like excitement, that kind of vibe. And maybe I'm just a skeptic, but I'm kind of with you. I think there is a really good chance based on how much America loves her. I mean, she's got a lot of votes. She's got a lot of good scores. Like she could be our winner. And people love a climb to the top. People love a challenge. So I don't know. I'm going to lean into conspiracy with you on this one. I think maybe producers are trying to keep her down. I don't know.
I agree. Let's lean into that conspiracy. I don't know. Now let's take a look at tonight's heaviest hitters. So obviously tonight there were 3 27s at the top. So that makes our job interesting because it's just like 3 lateral 27s. So let's just start with one of them in no particular order. Let's start with Johnny Weir, who of course we thought in the very beginning predictions episode, which that seems like years ago at this point, we were like, Johnny will be on top. He's an Olympic figure skater. He's going to nail this competition. And he's had some up and downs, but he's had some amazing weeks previously. And he crushes on Shawn Mendes, like I think you and me both do, Fiona. So I felt close to Johnny this week. And I love how close that Britt, his partner, and Johnny have gotten. They kind of went into how close they've gotten prior to their dance, and I'm just obsessed with that. I love that they've become friends. So he danced the Foxtrot alongside Britt to Wonder by Shawn Mendes, his new song. So let's take a little look.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean,
so good.
What are your thoughts, Fiona?
Oh my God. I keep repeating the same phrase over and over again. So good. He was so in his element. I mean, he had like that one thing we saw at the very beginning, just something as simple as the way he extended his arm. I mean, come on. Like he found like his groove in this type of choreography. They're such a good match is the other thing. Like they complement each other so well.
Yeah.
They're not just like partners. I feel like they really play off of each other. And I don't know, it was sharp, it was polished, he just floated, I felt like he looked in his element. He looked like a fierce competitor. This to me was like just the reminder, like he's super in this. What did you think?
And I completely agree. And I think, he talked about how he has no experience doing the Foxtrot. And we've, I think, talked on this this show about how difficult a Foxtrot can be. It's a lot of footwork that you have to make look pretty effortless. And I think he did it with such grace. He's using that discipline that he gets from being an Olympic figure skater to apply, and you see him applying that to these dances, to this choreography. So, I just think he is exactly where he should be in this competition. I cannot wait to see what he continues to do. I thought their moment at the end of the dance where they just hugged because they were so happy with how it went. I was like, oh, it was just so sweet. And Tyra commented on it, and I was like, yes, Tyra. I think Johnny's exactly where he should.
Totally agree. Okay, next up we have Justina Machado. She has also remained toward the top all season. She is, of course, one of our 27s this week. She spoke of her relationship with Rita Moreno in West Side Story and much of the inspiration she was when she was a girl. She dedicated this dance to Rita, which was so sweet, so cute. So sweet. She danced the samba alongside her pro Sasha to Magdalena by Sergio Mendes. Let's take a look.
Let's do it.
Yes, already.
Her face every week.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
I love
Taylor, the word that comes to mind is energy. All I can think about is like the energy she was giving off. What is your reaction? What did you think of this?
I just think every single week she brings the facial expressions, and I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with how much she could be lying to us all. I know she's an actress, but just how much fun it looks like she's having when she's dancing this. And I just thought the dedicating it to Rita and how they're now in like a show together. They're in One Day at a Time together, and it's just such a seeing her as like a whole person, and then like the competition is sort of the backdrop of that. I didn't really know Justina before this competition, but now I'm like a huge fan of hers, and
Oh
she
my God,
brings it
same.
every week. And I mean, the level of commitment that she brings, I mean, the energy, like you said, to every single dance she does. I'm out of breath even watching her dance because she's committing 110%. And that's just so fun to watch. I'm like, you go, Justina. Like, she was such a surprise this entire season, and I just love what she brings every week.
Oh my God, couldn't agree more. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like she's one of those faces I would have recognized, but by no
Yes,
means did I like
exactly.
know a lot about her. Did I know how talented she was? I mean, I am so excited to like be a fan of hers forever, from not
Yes.
just her talent, but like you said, those personality moments. She
Mhm.
is such a fierce competitor. I feel like every week she makes us smile. I'm always impressed. I don't think I've ever been like worried about her. Like she's
No.
just like stable, solid. She of course had a little stumble that the judges pointed out, but like
Yeah.
if you're at this stage of the game going to consistently be this strong, score this high, including a stumble, like the stumble doesn't take you
Yeah.
down, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. She still ended up in that top bracket tonight with a little mess up. I'm here for it. I think she's going to be around for weeks to come, to say the least, I guess.
Agree. I definitely agree. Love Justina. And that brings us to our final person this week, our final 27, and that is Neve Schulman. We saw sort of a glimpse into Neve's daily routine this week. I had no idea that he was also filming Catfish from home. And I know that he was
I
a
know.
dad, but he's like, it's 6 it's 5:30. I forget. It's really early in the morning. He wakes up and then he like works out and he films Catfish and then he goes to rehearsal. I just didn't realize that the amount that was on his plate right now. And considering that he got the first perfect score last week, Neve is, I'm sort of in awe of him and his work ethic. It's kind of incredible. And he danced this week the Viennese Waltz to Stuck With You by Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber alongside his partner Jenna. So I say we roll this clip.
Let's do it.
His smile. Like,
Oh, it's so cute.
so cute. What are your thoughts? You think cute? What else?
I mean, listen, he is one of those people where his talent and his performance are both like off the charts. He kills
Truly.
that. It was
Yes.
pretty. He was confident. It was graceful. And it also was just like whether you were watching them dance or just watching his face, like you were enjoying yourself. Like that smile is so wonderful. And I think, I mean, we talked about not that this really matters, but obviously he got that perfect 10 last week, and that was such a different performance. It was so intense.
Oh, yeah.
It was spooky. I mean, to see the range, like I know that's not necessarily what the judges are judging on right this second,
Sure.
but to me, as just someone at home, I'm like so impressed that like, he's such a chameleon, you know? Like he really is talented. He's not getting lucky. This is like he's in this,
no.
and I think he's going to continue to surprise us, even though it's not really like, I'm not shocked by it. I'm always just like, wow, you know?
Of course. I just Neve. I remember that predictions video. We were just like, I was like, oh, he did dance. Like he's a dancer. He's trained. And we're like, huh, that's interesting. And then seeing him just annihilate in this competition, it's just a blast. And I appreciate, I mean, he all night was like, we miss Jeannie, like, and he just kept mentioning Jeannie, and I was just like, oh, well, that was like really kind, just to kind of include her in this and make sure that she feels loved and everything. I don't know, he's great. I love
Winning is over.
I love Neve. Yeah,
yes.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
we just love. But then we have the relays. I mean, we have the relays this week, Fiona.
Okay, yeah. So the relays were a crazy plot twist. I haven't like
Yeah.
actively tuned into Dancing with the Stars in a few seasons, which of course I'm now regretting, but this season was like too good to even consider passing up.
Oh, yeah.
So these relays for me really took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Basically, they have additional dance relays, which give them the opportunity to earn bonus points. So 3 couples will dance to the same song and the same style. So first, there was a cha-cha dance relay
Yeah.
to Lady Gaga's Rain on Me, which Neve, Chrishell, and Nelly all performed. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, Neve shined, per
Yeah.
usual. I mean, like, are we surprised? We were literally just talking
No.
about him. He's talented. He kills it at everything.
Yeah.
Chrishell, I want to say her outfit was something
Yes.
I really was wowed
For
by.
sure.
And listen, it was clean, it was fun, it was Chrishell. Nelly
Yeah.
was fun to watch, but I really want to talk about his improvement because I mean,
Yeah.
we saw him basically stand still earlier and then we saw this. So fun. I mean, I was really impressed. Any of them stand out to you? Did you have any like major thoughts from their cha-chas?
I think you nailed it. I mean, the cha-cha, like, it's cool that they're revisiting a style of dance that they've all done. I think that's a cool kind of to see. I do get it. Then you can earn bonus points for just being better the
Right.
second time around, which I appreciate. And you mentioned Nelly, and I don't know, just seeing him, I was so glad this relay happened because I was somewhat disappointed in his performance earlier in the night, and then having this, it really seemed like he was in his element. It seemed like he was having a really good time. Whenever it looks like Nelly's having fun and he's not stressed out, then the performance shines. I think he was maybe like stressed this week, whether it be with the context of the performance or just the style of dance that they were doing. But I don't know. I loved Nelly in this. And then next we had Viennese Waltz. The Viennese Waltz.
Yes.
It was I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston, which Justina and Johnny were in. Jeannie would have been in this category as well. The 3 J's.
Right.
So I don't know. With Justina here, I mean, we just talked about how much fun her samba was this week. But then when you put her in something like a Viennese Waltz, it does seem a little bit like she's out of her element. Like, because she's not known for being super graceful. She's known for bringing the energy, and a Viennese Waltz obviously has to be pretty graceful. So I don't know. I felt she began it and it was like, I don't really care because you had such a great dance earlier in the night. So I don't know, not too impressed by her, but she looked absolutely gorgeous in that white sort of outfit of hers. I loved it. But this was Johnny who went after her much more in Johnny's arena here, because Johnny can be so graceful and lovely, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, he sort of nailed the Viennese Waltz. And so Derek gave Justina 2 bonus points and Johnny 3 bonus points. I believe before in the cha-cha, it was Carrie Ann gave Neve 3 points, which I think we both agree with.
Yes.
And then Chrishell and Nelly both got 2 points. It was interesting to see how they were like divvying these out. I was like, are you going to give anyone 1 point? Like, I guess not. It was just the whole bonus point thing. I'm like, it seems like everyone's sort of getting the same amount of points. So I don't know if this makes a lot of sense in terms of score, but I do think from an entertainment perspective, despite how rushed the rest of the episode was, because they were clearly running out of time. That was, we should talk about that later. And finally, the last of the 3 relays were a samba to Levitating by Dua Lipa, which has been an absolute quarantine jam of mine. I've been jamming to Levitate it, so I was really thrilled when he said that. And so there was the remaining 3. So AJ, Kaitlyn, and Sky all did a samba this week. And I don't know, we talked about AJ's performance earlier and how we were like, you could do better. I thought he looked so in his element with the samba. I thought he was nailing it. I thought he was having so much fun. And he can do footwork pretty well. I mean, probably from his Backstreet Boys background, like he can nail some footwork. And then of course, I mean, Kaitlyn, I'm also glad she had this because she nailed it. It was perfect. She was floating across the stage. She never disappoints me. And then Sky Jackson, we can talk about this, but she is so sharp. It's very Disney Channel how she hits everything. And she's so young, so she can really hit sharp. But in a dance where sharpness isn't necessarily the first thing that you should be worrying about, it should be floating, making sure that it's seamless. It sometimes doesn't serve her well. So I always love her dances because they're so sharp, but then the judges sort of get her on that. And then just rounding up the points, it was AJ got 3 points, Kaitlyn got 3 points, and then Sky got 2 points. So that's a lot of information in terms of the relays. But Fiona, any sort of, sorry, I just like word vomited these relays.
No,
But
I love it.
Fiona, what do you think about the last 2 relays? Do you think everything was deserved? Did you have any favorites?
You know, I think what you said is interesting about the points. Like, what the difference between a 3 and a 2 seems to be so much broader than the difference in score, like, you know, earlier on. Like, because I thought some of the 3s were like, you know, in my head 10s, and some of the 2s in my heads were like 5s. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think the scoring is interesting, but it is a fun way to A, get to see them perform again, and B, I think like my biggest takeaway, just a general observation, is like someone like Kaitlyn or AJ, even like, or just, you know, whoever, some of our heavier hitters, when there's nothing on the line but more points and you've already done a good job, I think we're going to get some of our best performances in this sort of department, because the pressure's off and people can really shine sometimes when the pressure's off. So I'm excited to see more. Like, that performance from Kaitlyn was wonderful. I mean, she already gave us a super fun jive, then she hit us with this. Like, I think it's going to be really interesting, and we might end up having like some of our faves be in this category. Who knows?
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, that's such a good point. Like, when the pressure, because it's significantly shorter, the choreo portion for the second part, and you've already gone through like the scary big sort of main event of your performances. So that's such a good point. The pressure is somewhat alleviated, which allows for people to really shine. I don't know. I didn't even think about that, how you sort of take a little bit of that variable out of the pressure of this huge undertaking. So yeah, I mean, we might see, I mean, I think all of these performers work pretty well under pressure, but I'd be interested to see if that does change, if some really shine when that isn't the case. Like, Johnny Weir is an Olympic figure skater, he can do pressure, but like someone with someone else, I don't know.
Like a Nelly, right? Like, I'm feeling like we might get like a really good moment from Nelly in here, because he's going to be like, whatever, I'm just going to have fun. And like you were saying, that's when he shines the most. So I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, the main events, the main performances are still going to be like the highlight of the night. Yeah. But I'm curious. This is just such a fun concept.
Yeah, I do like this concept.
Okay, Tyler, before we wrap up, we of course have to have just like some general discussion about the rest of this episode, because some pretty big moments happened. Let's start with Jeannie, because even though she didn't perform, we have to talk that emotional footage of her in the hospital. They really did such a nice job of, you know, sharing this narrative. Obviously, fans are really invested in her and her health and her life. So I think it was really wonderful that they gave people, you know, a glimpse into how she's doing, what's going on. We, of course, saw her post-op. They recapped it all. I mean, I love her. I'm so thankful. I mean, my God, what a year it's been. Thank goodness they discovered this when they did. I mean, you know, they were COVID testing like crazy and it kept coming up negative. And like, we're living in times where health is so important for one specific reason. But I think this just served as a reminder that like health is important and you need to listen to your body. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm just sort of blown away. I don't even have anything else to say. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I think you and I both just completely fell in love with Jeannie in this show, but also just as a person and a personality. I never watched the reel. Like, she's one of those people, again, that I wasn't super familiar with before the season, and then I just completely just fell in love with her energy and what she brought to the table. I love her. And I think, I mean, I'm glad that they were able to get a little bit of more of an update from her personally, because I think a lot of people had a lot of questions. She did give that statement to Good Morning America, and a lot of people have been reporting on it. But it's nice to see her face and see her see her relatively healthy. She's able to speak, like, because this condition is so serious. So I think a lot of people are like, So I think it was very wise of them to have her talk to the camera, and I'm glad that the operation went well. I'm just wishing her all the best. And I don't know. And then seeing that her partner Brandon was like there by himself in his little section, and how Tyra sort of addressed him and how he, I don't know, it just always so, I think they handled it really well, and they really put the emphasis on this is the right move. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we wish she should come back. It was more like she's doing the exact correct thing. So I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and in a time like this where health is paramount, it's great that they're focusing on that and not like, oh, she's leaving the competition. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I love Jeannie.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, I do too. Hard to transition into this because it's sad news for a completely different reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But I know you're grieving as I am because we have officially lost Chrishell. She and Sky were both in the bottom for the very first time. Carrie-Anne saved Sky, Bruno saved Sky, which of course means Chrishell went home. Now, removing Mai, I love Chrishell. I stand her forever. I think she's such an adorable person. Cap. I think they made the right call. Chrishell is one of those people that from the first week of this competition, we have loved to see her like show up and like see what she can do. But she was not a heavy hitter. She was not a top contender. And that's okay. You know, there are some really talented dancers in this competition. And I think she did an impressive run. She had some great performances. She held her own. But it's sad to see her go. I mean, I'm trying to like look on the bright side of like, there are some really serious competitors here. And as much as we love Chrishell, the competition does have to keep moving forward. I think Sky, you know, she's had a bit of a roller coaster, but her highs have been higher.
Oh,
you know, overall. So I do think it makes sense. I don't know. How did you feel? It's a bummer, but I think it makes sense.
And both can be true. We can be bummed about it, but also totally understand that it was time. I mean, the fact that she beat out Monica Aldama, like if we could go back to I'm going to keep bringing up this predictions video because I think it's funny how we were wrong on some fronts and completely right on others. It's just, I'm glad she lasted this long, but ultimately when I'm looking at some of the people that have gone, I'm like, you got pretty far, Chrishell. Like, considering that she's not a dancer, I don't know. And the fact that Monica Aldama is a cheer coach, and I feel like that could serve you really, really well in this competition. And the fact that Chrishell beat her out, I think is so impressive. And what Jason was saying in that phone video call in this episode, it's like if you said in the beginning that you made it into week 3, that would be a success, and that now she was in the final, I mean, she's in the 8th episode. So I don't know, I don't think she's gonna be too heartbroken about it. I think she was probably looking to her left and her right, being like, this is really the cream of the crop, and we have a Backstreet Boys dancer, we have a Disney Channel star, we have Kaitlyn who was in Neve, who were trained in dancing. It's just, it's getting Johnny Weir, Olympic figure skater, Justina, who is absolutely electric. It's just, it's Nelly maybe should have gone before Chrishell, but I'm not going to get into that. But I don't know. I think it was time, and it's going to get harder and harder every week because you're like, how do you make these choices? You know?
Oh my God, totally. I mean, not to be like morbid, but feels like Nelly's probably going to go.
I know. It's like to tell the future. Yeah.
He's probably going to go. And then how do we lose anyone? You know what I mean? Like, got only a few left that aren't in that like steady heavy hitter category. So the competition is going to be crazy from here on out.
I got chills when you said that. I'm really excited. I'm excited to keep watching this alongside you. But everyone, I think there you have it. That's this week's best and worst of this episode's episode of Dancing with the Stars this season. So do you agree with the judges? So do you agree with anything that we just said for the last however long? We want to know what you think. Who do you think is going to go next? Do you think it'll be Nelly? Do you think we'll be surprised? Who are you loving? So just please let us know down in the comments. We do love to read them. So please do that. And before you go, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos from us. We, again, cover this show. So if you are at all interested in this season of Dancing with the Stars and a little bit of commentary on it, then ring the bell. So as always, I'm your host, Tyler Joseph Ellis. You can follow me on socials on Instagram and Twitter at TylerJoe33 and on TikTok at Tyler Joseph Ellis. And Fiona, where can they find you?
You can find me on social media at Fiona Zaring.
All right, everyone, that's it. Happy Election Day. If you have not voted yet, please go out and vote. It's a very important year. So until next time, and hopefully we'll be pleased when we see you next. Bye.